Margit the Fell Omen is hard as nails. Elden Ring's first serious boss has claimed many runes, but you don't need to add to his collection. I'm Imogen Meller for PC Gamer, and here are loads of bosses you can tackle first, instead of rushing straight towards this accomplished killer. Elden Ring tries to aim you at Margit almost immediately. You may be thinking, the game has told me to be here, so why is it kicking my ass for trying my best? But you're not really supposed to fight Margit immediately, not unless you're a speedrunner. Instead, you're supposed to complete other adventures first to get enough runes to level up and maybe get some cool weapons on the way. So here are 7 bosses to beat before you get to Margit the Fell Omen. Beastman is the first boss outside of the tutorial that you should face. If you've missed him, he's easy to find, so don't worry. Going from the Church of Ella, head into the woods just north of the building. Going from there, you'll see a few soldiers and at the base of the cliff front, a cave. This is Groveside Cave. Down this path you'll find a few wolves to deal with before coming to the boss room. He's aggressive and fast, but if you pay attention to his attacks, this guy should only take you a handful of attempts. If he jumps, roll under him and attack from behind. Beastman has several flurry attacks you'll need to learn, so step back, keep your distance, and wait to see how they all work. Grave Warden Duelist. In the Murkwater Catacombs, you will find the Grave Warden Duelist. Armed with 2 hammers on a chain, this strongman is nearly as intimidating as he looks at first glance. If you make sure to roll under his attacks and watch out for his buff stage, you'll have this guy finished in no time. Oh, and my advice with any catacomb is to leg it through the place. Honestly, just sprint and find the lever. You'll be in much less pain, I promise. Erdtree Burial Watchdog. West of the Church of Ella, you should spot your first guiding statue. These stooped stone sculptures are speckled across the lands between, and will literally point you in the right direction, or at least a direction where there's something worth doing. When interacting with them, they'll point you towards the beginning of a catacomb or dungeon. In this case, it will point you towards Stormfoot Catacombs, where the Watchdog lurks at the end. Though the Burial Watchdog is very close to the beginning of the game, he is a little tougher than the Beastman, so you may want to come back to it. This sentient chess piece is far freakier in movement than most other bosses. Learn to keep your distance from his flurry attacks and run from his levitation moves to avoid devastating damage. Then be as aggressive as you can afford. As with many bosses, being cocky will be your downfall if you're not careful. Patches. Our old friend Patches. This guy isn't as much of a boss as he is a fun NPC and entertaining nuisance. If this is your first From Software adventure, then you may not know that Patches spans the developer's works in all sorts of forms, and Elden Ring is no different. Head down to the Murkwater Cave in the massive ravine splitting Limgraven 2. You'll know you're close when you have an NPC invasion, which you'll get a very nice dagger from. The cave will have some bandits to deal with, and they're the hardest part of the entire dungeon. If you trigger them and run back towards the entrance, there is a jump they can't make, and you can spam magic from afar, or pick them off one by one. Cheesy, but it works. Once you're through the bandits, you can find a large chamber with a chest. Open the chest and take the items, and Patches will appear. He has a shield and spear, but he's easy to evade and get behind for some hits. The best part of this fight is that you don't actually need to finish him off. The bandit will call for mercy once you've given him a good walloping. You'll then have the option to kill him for good or let him off and be quote-unquote friends. Though he may cause you a little trouble down the line, it's worth keeping him around because he's not a half-bad merchant when he's not trying to kill you. He actually stocks an item called Margit's Shackles, which becomes very useful in the difficult boss fight ahead, stunning the Fell Omen. Black Knife Assassin. Black Knife Assassin is yet another just some lad with a weapon boss. Head to the Death Touch Catacombs and you'll find this elusive warrior. He's slinky, which can make him a little hard to hit, but keep up your aggression and you should be able to catch him out for 1 or 2 solid hits. It helps that he's already hurt when you enter the fight. Watch your stamina when you're attacking though, as he can quickly retaliate, forcing you to dodge. He's pretty easy to backstab if you distract him with a summon though. Finish him off and you'll be rewarded with the Assassin's Crimson Dagger Talisman, which can give you the ability to restore health when critically hitting your enemies. Tibia Mariner. To be perfectly honest, I couldn't stop giggling at the absurdity of the Tibia Mariner when I first met him. It's a skeleton in an ancient lifeboat, what's not to like? Head to Summonwater Village in northeast Limgrave. You'll find him hanging out in the middle of a flooded settlement, and the fight will begin. He's a skeleton in a really shallow pond, throwing a few spells and summoning some skeleton buddies. Fight him on torrent back and he won't prove much of a challenge. There are some moves, like when the boat rises out of the water and comes down hard, which can do quite a bit of damage. But these attacks can also kill the skeletons around him, and offer you a gap to get in and do some more damage. He'll also teleport away after he's taking a beating, but he won't ever be too far away. Leonine Misbegotten. If you've got all these other bosses on the list, then you should be ready to take on Leonine Misbegotten in Castle Morn. Head south and find the Bridge of Sacrifice. Gallop across it on torrent and find the blind lady sitting next to the road. She's the beginning of the Castle Morn questline. Head south yet again, and you can't miss the castle, which is undergoing a brutal revolution. Getting through the castle is a challenge in itself, but once you've explored it thoroughly, you'll find yourself at the back of the castle on the beach. A large, unmissable, golden mist gate will stand between you and the Leonine Misbegotten. I won't lie, this guy can be a little tough if you're not prepared for him. I originally tried to best this beast without the help of the Spirit Summoning Bell, which was a mistake. He's the most aggressive of the bosses on this list and will stalk you no matter how much you try and build distance. Use the Spirit Summoning Bell to give yourself a break, to heal or restock your FP. You can also block most of his physical damage with a shield, but I'd recommend learning his movements and rolling to avoid being staggered. Once defeated, you get the Grafted Blade Greatsword, which looks a lot like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. It's a sword made out of swords. It requires a hefty 40 strength to wield effectively though, so it may be a while before you're able to put it to good use. With 7 bosses defeated, plenty of runes, a bunch of new items and 1 castle behind you, Margit shouldn't pose much of a problem. And if he is still causing you bother, don't forget to spend some runes in Patch's shop, and remember to bring an NPC ally and one of your Ashes summons with you. For more guides on Elden Ring, check out PCGamer.com.